We are super excited about our new partnership with Sun Media here on Golf Talk Canada, which includes their national golf writer from the Toronto Sun, Jon McCarthy. We call it Chasing the Sun. We'll do it every month here on GTC TV and radio. Let's check in with Jon. Jon, thanks for coming on the show. Our first ever Chasing the Sun. Let's get right to it. We've got two great players right now on the men's side of the game, both recently kind of sticking their toe in the major pool, for lack of a better way of describing it, but gone about their game very differently. Corey Conners, he's a ball striking machine, works so hard on his putting, and then kind of flip the switch to say, let's work on the wedge play. But with Mackenzie Hughes, a different way of going about it. Is that a fair way of maybe assessing it?
Exactly, and thanks for having me on, Mark. Well, you look at Corey Conners, and it's very obvious how he's gotten to where he is in this past year. He was a ball striking magician for his whole career, but the past two seasons, he was 181st in strokes gained putting, which I know we're all going for consistency in golf, but maybe not that kind of consistency. So he works on his short game and his putting, and all of a sudden this year, he's 101st in strokes gained, even gaining a bit against the field. So Corey Conners with a positive strokes gained, he's going to be a force to reckon with. But with Mackenzie Hughes, his progress has been a little harder to see because he told me that he's always thought he's trying to keep a positive mentality on the golf course, and negative thoughts get into his head. And I mean, anybody that plays golf and cares about their game knows how it's hard to play golf when you're golf's hard enough out there. You don't have to be fighting yourself. But this is something he's been doing his entire career. But in the past year or year and a half, he's really been working hard on trying to stay positive on the golf course. And we all remember last year, Mackenzie Hughes makes it to the Tour Championship, has his best season. We remember the great times, but that season started off with 9 of 11 missed cuts. Through the first 6 months of that season, he only earned $30,000 on the golf course. And then he had a caddy change early that year to a St. Thomas man named Jace Walker, Canadian. And they were going to the Honda, they had missed 5 straight cuts, and it looked like they were well on their way to missing another one. And on Friday, Jace could tell because Mackenzie had told him that a red flag for him is if he gets quiet on the golf course, that sort of means that he might need someone to pick him up, to try and not let him roll into this negative attitude. And I guess Jace picked up on that. And he told him, he said, listen, just hang in for 2 more hours. And even if we don't make the cut, you're going to feel better about yourself in 2 hours if you hang in and grind this round out. So what does he do? He finishes the rest of the round even par. He makes the cut on the number at the Honda, shoots 66 on the weekend, runner up to Sunjay M. And all of a sudden the season's rolling. And that happened to be the final start before the COVID break. So if he had not done that and he'd gone into the COVID break missing 10 of 12 cuts, who knows where his season goes? Who knows if he tries to make some big changes? But because of that, all of a sudden he knew that it was in him, and he knew how important it was to stay positive on the course. And that's something he's continued to work on and something we've seen the benefits of recently.
I find it so interesting too. The players are so different, Jon. I always say, Corey Conners, in order for him to kind of get over the hump in a big event like we saw at the PGA Championship, he needs to figure out a way to put a positive round on the board, keep a tournament going on the day where he doesn't hit 15 greens, because he just hits 14, 15 greens so often and makes it so easy on himself that day where he hits 10 greens, 9 greens, 11 greens, needs to find a way to put a score on the board. Mackenzie Hughes is almost the opposite. Sometimes when he has it going, when he has that kind of positive attitude that you're referring to, where he's kind of got to jump on his step, he's a little bit more chatty, the energy levels up, etc. Sometimes he can, turn something into nothing. And it's amazing to me how different both of these players are, considering at the moment you would put them 1-2 for men's Canadian golf, and they're on their way to the Olympics together.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I mean, with Conners, without ball striking, he can get himself onto leaderboards even when he's not putting well and when he's not on his game. So I think that's a great way to play professional golf, because you're in it a lot and you're waiting for that hot putter. But with Mackenzie, he's a great chipper, and we've seen him drop 60-foot bombs twice at the U.S. Open. So when you have that kind of game, it's a little harder to get into contention week to week to week. So for him, it's getting into a rhythm with the rest of his game. But when he does, all of a sudden you start making bombs like that, and you can move up the leaderboard very quickly. But we won't see Hughes as frequently on the leaderboard because Connors can be there every week because on the strength of that ball striking. If you look at the top, 20, 30 players on tour, pretty much they all are elite ball strikers because that's the way to find massive consistency on the PGA Tour.
All right, I got a couple of more for you here before we wrap up our Chasing the Sun. Rory McIlroy comes limping out of the Irish Open. Dustin Johnson, not exactly the year that he's wanted, had a couple chances to win in the last few months, could not get it done on Sundays, kind of went in reverse instead of forward. Who needs a win more? Who needs to save their season with a big summer? We're 2 weeks away, John Deere Classic, then the Open Championship. Then, of course, we're going to have an Olympics, then a FedEx Cup playoffs. Who needs something more to save their season, Rory or DJ?
Well, I think it's got to be Rory. I mean, I'm looking mainly at the majors, and Dustin at least had one at the Masters in the November Masters. But with Rory, I mean, he's going on 7 years without a major championship, and I also think Rory puts some of the pressure on himself because he lets us in. He lets us see how much he cares, and we go through this mental journey with him every time a major comes around. And with Dustin, it might mean just as much, but he doesn't make it seem like it does. He'll tell you, oh, I think I hit it pretty good. I missed some putts. But with Rory, he'll tell you what books he's reading, what wine he's drinking, and what he's going to do to console himself after not a good performance at a major. So we're more invested in Rory, and it's been 7 years. So I think it's time for Rory to hopefully break that major drought.
I'm with you on that as well. I vote Rory all the way. And again, to your point, he lets us in. That's why we love him so much. But that also comes sometimes with its pound of flesh, so to speak. And last one for you, John. Olympics is a couple of weeks away. We're all pumped. We think Canada's got a great chance to medal as we head to the Olympics on both the men's and ladies' side of the coin. But Bob and I recently have been talking a little bit about format. We'd love to see more of a team component to an Olympic event that's really about playing for your country. Are you okay with just the 72 holes of stroke play and it kind of looks a little bit more like a PGA Tour or LPGA Tour event? Or would you like to see more of a national kind of team component to Olympic golf?
No, I think I'm with you guys. I mean, if you could for sure have all the best players in the world there, perhaps the 72-hole stroke play would be a fine way to judge it. But we're already not getting all the best players in the world because so many of them are American, and you're only going to get four of them. So if you're not having the best in the world there, I do think it would be great to add some fun to it. And pretty realistically, we have so many week to week events of stroke play like that. I'm for anything that add some spark and life into it. And I think the Olympics, there's so few team events in golf. I think that it would be great to spice it up and maybe do both. I mean, they're there 2 weeks. It's, women and men are playing on different weeks. Why not play both the stroke play in the first week and then have something a little more fun and give out, 2 gold medals?
Why not? And we're shutting down anyway, to your point. That's a great, great idea. All right, John, thanks so much for doing this with us. We'll catch up on the other side of the Olympics and maybe preview the FedEx Cup playoffs and see where it landed for Rory at the Open Championship. He is Jon McCarthy at Jon McCarthy Sun, Toronto Sun, national golf writer, Postmedia. John, thanks so much for doing this with me.
Thank you.
Great catching up with John, and look for yours truly in Sun Media papers across Canada in the next few weeks.